guys, it's Emma and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing my super late November wrap up. And November, I read 18 things in November. I have never read that many things in my entire life. So I read 10 full-length novels and 8 graphic novels, which is crazy. So I do have my bullet journal here with all of them, and I'm going to be going through them. Unfortunately, my iPad decided now was a good time to crap out and like lock me out and not do anything, so I won't be able to like hold up the books that I don't have, and I only have 5 of them with me because, as you guys know, I read majority from the library. That's where like 65% I'd say of my reading comes in through, especially with the comics and stuff, which I read through Hoopla. So yeah, so I do have to keep this on my lap to sort of remember my talking points and what I gave everything and like the order. Yeah, so let's just hop into this video because I feel like it's gonna be a long one. So the first book that I read in November, I actually read entirely on the first day of November, and that is Her Royal Highness by Rachel Hawkins. And this is actually a book that I won in a Twitter giveaway. So thank you so much, Rachel, for hosting that giveaway so I could win Her Royal Highness. I loved it. I ended up giving it 4 stars. But this is following our main character, Millie, who has just come out of a relationship with like her best friend, and she doesn't really know what to do with her life. But prior to this relationship, she had always dreamed of going to this Scottish like private school, and like she ends up getting accepted. And so since she like just got out of this relationship, she's like, screw it, I'm going to Scotland, I'm gonna enjoy my time and have some fun. But what she doesn't count on is when her roommate turns out to be Princess Flora of Scotland. So it's their female romance, and it was so freaking cute. So the reason this is a 4-star for me is, frankly, the romance didn't really happen until like the end of the book. And like I just feel like it was way too short. This is only like 270 pages maybe? Yeah. 270 pages, so like there just wasn't enough time, and I really wanted more. I feel like this book would have been even better as like a 300 to 350 page book where we could have had more time to get with along with our characters and to become more invested in this relationship. I felt like we didn't really get enough time with them. I feel like in her first novel, Royals, which is now Prince Charming, we got to spend more time with the characters, and that's why I was so in love with the story and so in love with these characters. I forgot to mention, yes, this is book 2 in the Royals series. It's companion novels, so you don't have to read them, but I gave the first book 5 stars and I loved it, and the end is like a John Hughes movie, so go read it. I'm really hoping that I get it for Christmas so I can reread it, even though I just read it this year. But yes, so 4 stars for this. Really enjoyed it, just would have preferred if it was longer. So next, I ended up reading both Saga Volume 5 and Saga Volume 6. And I'm just going to throw this in here. I read Saga Volume 3 this month too, so I'll just combine them all together because it's not like it's the first of the graphic novels. So I can't really talk about what happens in them because this is, again, 5, 6, and 7. I've given every Saga Volume 4 stars, so it's just become like my favorite graphic novel series, even though I'm only just getting into graphic novels. But this fantasy world is so complex. There's so many different like types of like people, and like it was just so interesting, and like all the different planets, and it's very political, and I tend to enjoy political fantasy, so I really enjoyed seeing it in a graphic novel format. And these are all available through my library on Hoopla, so I didn't pay for any of these, so I don't like have them to show you. But yeah, and the artwork is just beautiful. It is very adult, so in case you didn't know that, just know that. But it was really good. I really enjoyed it. So the next book that I read was Beautiful Bastard by Christina Lauren. I feel so weird saying that title. But this is a very, very smutty romance novel that is, oh my gosh, I don't even want to talk about it. It's so adult. I'm like so uncomfortable because I know like some of my family watches this, so sorry. But it basically, I think, is it voyaging? That's the like kink that they're doing. I wouldn't know, but these books are so like crazy and so like not like vanilla relationship, like, and I have no experience, so I wouldn't know. But yeah, so I'm so uncomfortable. I think I'm getting red. But I enjoyed it. I sped through it, and I've continued on with the series. But I don't want to talk about it anymore. I didn't rate it on Goodreads because I feel like it's just like not something I want to like put a rating. I wasn't even gonna put it on Goodreads because I was so embarrassed, clearly. But yeah, I'm not gonna rate it on here, but yeah. Moving along. So the next book I do have physically, and that is The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. The dust jacket was kind of ruined because it's a library copy, hence the tape. But this is it's described in so many ways. It's like a fantasy, dystopian, like, book. I don't even know how to explain it. So this is following our main character, Paige Mahoney, and she has this gift where she can like see into other people's like dreamscapes and like manipulate their minds, and like she's a dream walker, I think that's what it's called. I don't really remember. It's been a bit. But basically in this world there's like psychics and all these other different things, and they are like seen as like really bad, and so the government is trying to get them all and like kill them all basically. But Paige doesn't end up getting killed after she gets caught. She ends up being taken somewhere else, and that's all I'm gonna tell you, because you really have to just, I feel like this book was really good to go into blind. It's very dense and like you really have to pay attention, and there's actually like a lot of slang, so there's like a glossary at the back, but I didn't actually end up using the glossary, but I know a lot of people love the glossary. I sort of just try to use context clues to figure things out. I don't know. I studied linguistics. I think it's interesting. But yeah, so this was just really interesting, and I can't really go into anything else without it being spoilery. But if you don't care about semi-spoilery thoughts that aren't like spoilers, but like like I said, I prefer to go in blind, but I will have my Goodreads linked below, and you can check out my review for this. All I will say is that I ended up giving it 4 stars, and I really enjoyed it. I read this for the Bonathon hosted by Ashley from A Frolic Through Fiction, and there's also quite a few other hosts, Cody, Becca, Gavin. Is her name Bonnie? I'm so sorry. I don't remember her name. But I will link everyone down below. But yeah, so this was super good. This is actually the October book, but I ended up reading in the beginning of November since the live show was in the beginning. And in November I was supposed to read the Mime Order, but I actually am currently reading that, and I actually haven't picked it up in like a week, and the live show already passed. I'm bad at doing book club books, apparently, but I will get to it. But I really enjoyed reading this and then going on to the live show with everyone and talking. It was super interesting to hear everyone's thoughts, and I feel like we all gave it around 4 stars, so definitely recommend this. So the next book that I read was The Flat Chair by Beth O'Leary. This is a romance novel about Leon and Tiffy, and Tiffy is coming out of a relationship where she's like kind of like she's still in love with her ex, let's just say that. And she is coming out of her relationship, and she needs to like move out because she was actually still living like with her ex. So she ends up finding this ad in the newspaper for a flat chair with this guy Leon, where Leon works the night shift, so she'll have it, you know, after she gets off work to like sleep and stuff, and then he'll get it when she's working the day shift, and he'll sleep in the day, and so they don't like see each other and stuff, but romance ensues. I feel like that's obviously not a spoiler. But yes, so I ended up giving this book 4 stars. This was a very 4-star and 3-star heavy month. It was all great. But yeah, so I ended up giving this 4 stars. I feel like a lot of that was for me. Okay, some would consider this a spoiler. I don't think it's a spoiler. I think you should know. But Tiffy's ex, the one that she's just moving out of, she realizes was actually really manipulative and abusive. And like not like physically abusive, but like emotionally. And I also went through the same thing where I was in a relationship for not a long time, but a few months, and I didn't really notice like how bad it was until I came out of it. And like it like took a lot of time for me to like accept everything that happened and like to come to terms with everything that happens. Wow, I'm getting chills. Okay, I'm trying not to cry. But basically I really enjoyed seeing Tiffy go through this because it really made me like feel better about myself, that I wasn't the only one who had like gone through it, and like that because sometimes you're like, how could I be so stupid, like all these things, and you just sort of beat yourself up for not seeing things or for staying for as long as you did. And so it was really validating, I guess is the word, to see someone else go through it, even if it was, you know, fictional. But I really enjoyed it. I didn't really enjoy some of the writing style choices. For Leon, the author chose to write in a completely different writing style, which is almost in like sentence fragments. And like he wouldn't use the word like he would just be like went to the store. He wouldn't be like I went to the store. And it was just really jarring sometimes to read, and it took me a while to get into the writing style. But like I said, the validation and connection that I felt to Tiffy really bumped this up from probably more of a 3.5 to a 4-star for me. So the next graphic novel, I didn't read these all like back to back, but I'm just gonna combine them. So I read Fence volumes 1 to 3. I ended up picking these up because this was the time that the Goodreads Choice Awards were being released, and I saw that Fence volume 3 was up for the graphic novel award, and I had never read Fence, so I decided to read Fence volume 1 and see if I liked it and to continue on. I ended up giving it 3 stars. I gave every issue 3 stars actually, or every volume 3 stars. I liked it, but I don't know, I just found myself wanting more. So if you guys didn't know, this is a graphic novel that's that surrounds this like fencing team and like their competition to like get on the team and stuff, and that's sort of the 3 volumes that are out so far. But I don't know, and then it's sold also as like a slow burn romance, or like as a romance, but like the romance hasn't happened yet and we're 3 volumes in, so like it's very slow, if there's gonna be one at all. But yeah, I don't know, these were just, they weren't for me. They were okay. I ended up reading all 3 because they were free on Hoopla, so like I was like, might as well, I have like 20 minutes, I can read an entire graphic novel. So yeah, there's not a lot of words in these graphic novels. It's more picture focused and like small segments of these like fencing duels. So yeah, like I said, 3 stars, just sort of average for me. So next I read An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. I read Sorcery of Thorns in October, I believe, and I really enjoyed it and I gave it 4 stars, so I really wanted to work back and go to Margaret Rogerson's first work, which was An Enchantment of Ravens. I ended up giving this book 3 stars. I feel like if I had read this first, maybe it'd be different. I don't know if I had like too high expectations, but this is another one of those, you did something wrong, so the Fae comes grabs you and brings you like to their court books. And I feel like I've just read so many of those recently that like this one just didn't stand out against, like, you know what, The Cruel Prince is like the first one that I can remember that comes to mind when I come think of that, and I love that and gave it 5 stars. So like this had a lot to like compare to, and I just didn't think it did. The writing was very lyrical, and sometimes I thought it was like unnecessarily like lyrical, and like the first 150 pages of the book should have been like 100 pages. Like this book was 250, 300 pages, and like honestly it could have been 150, like that piece, and then like extended on more. Like I felt like we got nothing, like nothing happened, like for how long it was. Like it really like boiled down to like so like so little. So I feel like I would have preferred if it was shorter, like that part was shorter and then we had gotten more or something. I don't know. I think I just had too many things that I was comparing it to, and too like high expectations for her since I love Sorcerer Thorn so much. And yeah, so I ended up giving this 3 stars. Not a bad book by any means, like I'm not saying that. I just think that it wasn't the right time for me to read it. And if I had read this like before The Cruel Prince and all that, I probably would have liked it a lot more. So the next book that I read was Book Club by Debbie Tung. This was another book that was nominated for the Goodreads Choice Awards for the graphic novel, so I really wanted to read it. And this is the cutest graphic novel about a book lover, and all of these different like panels were so realistic, and I was like, the whole time I was like, this is me, this is me, this is me, and I just loved it, like to the point where I screenshotted it and like took it on my phone, and I've been like saving it to make into like my phone background because I loved it that much. So yeah, there's not really much to say about it. It's literally just a girl who's obsessed with books and like explaining different situations that she gets into, and it was amazing. This is again was free on Hoopla, so check it out if you haven't, or buy it. I really want it. So yeah, I ended up giving this 5 stars. Yes, there wasn't a lot of like substance to it, but it wasn't trying to do anything like substantial, like, you know what I mean? It was just trying to be what it is, which is relatable book lovers commentary. So for that reason I give it 5 stars. Alright, so next I read 3 Dark Crowns by Kendara Blake for Buzzwordathon. I'll leave my Buzzwordathon vlog linked up here. It went really well. I ended up reading 5 things actually, so that was great. But this is a grimdark fantasy surrounding around 3 sisters who have different powers. So one is an elementalist, one is a poisoner, and one is a naturalist. And so once they're like 5 or something, they're young, they're split up into these like 3 areas of this island that they are from, called the Isle of Fenburn. And so they go to like, the poisoner goes to like the poisoner area, you know, the naturalist goes to the naturalist area, and they're brought up by those prospective people, and trained to come together on, I think it's their 16th birthday, to show an exhibition of all of their like strength and to prove to like the island, like, you want me as your queen, because after that it's free game and you have to kill your other 2 sisters. So yeah, this was crazy. I ended up giving this a 3 star. I think I gave it a 3.5. I just have it on my bullet journal as a 3. But I'm between a 3 and a 3.5. I really loved the world and the competition aspect of this, but I hated 99% of the characters. Like, literally, I'm thinking of like a few people in particular I really don't like. And there were just so many horrible people. And this book had the one thing that I can't stand in books that I didn't know until like recently, that it like makes me like really not like a book, and that is cheating. I can't stand when there's cheating because usually people try to hide it and people are just being rude and it's just, I feel like it's one of those things where like you either really care about it or you don't. Like, either it doesn't bother you at all, or you're like, nope, hate that person now, can't stand them. Like, and I'm the latter. Like, that literally ruined my opinion of 2 of these characters because I hated that they did that. And I'm still getting heated. But yeah, so only, like I said, a 3 or 3.5. I think I'll probably continue on to this sequel just because I love this world, and we're just getting the competition aspect at the very end of this book, so I don't know. But yeah, these characters are just very unlikable, so forewarned. Okay, so the next book that I read was A Million Junes by Emily Henry. I don't have the dust jacket because it had a giant rip on it, but this is I guess it's magical realism, YA contemporary. It revolves around our main character June and our other main character, which I Sal? I don't know how to pronounce his name. But either way, it reminds me of these two. And these their families have hated each other for the longest time, since like generations ago. This like whole thing happened with like land and money and things like that. But we're following June as she's still coming to terms with her father's death that happened 10 years ago. But she lives in, how do I explain this? Her world is just very, like, her house is very magical. She has these like wolves outside her house that you need to like leave them your shoes and they take them, and like she has these things that like float around her house that come into effect, but I'm not gonna talk about that. And yeah, but basically this is just a book that is looking at grief, and I loved it. I don't know how to talk about it because I love it so much. I gave it 5 stars. I ended up tabbing a bunch of like quotes that I loved, and it's just like, okay, it literally had me from the dedication page. I literally have a tab on the dedication page, which I don't think I've ever had before, but when I read that I was like, oh, we're in. We are gonna be tabbing our favorite parts. We are gonna love this book. So I'll tell you guys I'll read you guys what hooked me. On the dedication page it says, you know, specific people, and then it says, and for all those who find ways to go on, better days are coming for our little hearts. And I was just like, so my mental health has been pretty bad recently, and so reading this I was just like in my feels. I was like, thank you, like I needed that. And this was just so good. And my grandmother actually died my freshman year of college, so that's now 4 years ago. Yeah, 4 years ago in like October, so that still is sort of fresh for me, and like I think about her all the time. But a lot of these quotes I felt, you know, connected to her, and like relating to how June was talking about her father and how I think about my grandmother, and how like you can still feel their presence and things like that. It's a much bigger topic, and I think I go into it in that video, so like I said, it's linked up here. But yeah, I really loved this book, and I loved this writing. It was so whimsical and magical, and I don't know, I just want to read everything that Emily Henry has written. I ended up buying The Love That Split the World from the book outlet sale, and I'm so excited to read it. So if you haven't read this already, please read it. It was amazing. So the next book that I read was actually a graphic novel, and that is Paper Girls Volume 1 by Brian K. Vaughan, Cliff Chang, and Matthew Wilson. And this is a sci-fi graphic novel, I guess. So basically it's about these like 12 to like 14-year-old paper girls who are just rolling up on their bikes ready to you know, throw out the paper, and the entire population is like gone, and there's these like crazy like monsters and things that are like out to get everyone. I don't really, there's no way to explain it, like you just have to read it, but it was just so all over the place and like so confusing. Like I still don't understand like why and like what was happening. So I ended up giving this a 3-star for that reason. It probably would have been more of a 2, but the illustrations and the coloring of this graphic novel were beautiful. It's like all pink and blue and purple. I'm sorry, I don't have anything to show you guys. So the next book that I read was One Day in December by Josie Silver. This was still for Buzzwordathon, and I read this on ebook. And okay, so this is a book following our 2 main characters, who one day the girl is on the bus and she looks out, and at the bus stop there's this beautiful man, and they make eye contact, and she's like, well, that's it, I'm in love, that's my man. And then none of them, like, she doesn't get off the bus, he doesn't get on the bus, like he starts to get on the bus, but like the bus is already moving. So she's like, well, there goes my man and I'm never gonna see him again. But she keeps looking for him everywhere. And then one day her roommate and best friend's like, hey, my boyfriend's gonna come over, like you finally get to meet him, I've told you so much about him. And in walks Bus Stop Man. So this is all about them, like their interactions, and then her being like, oh my gosh, it's Bus Stop Boy, he doesn't know who I am probably, like how could he remember me, and him being like, oh my gosh, it's her, but I'm in with her roommate, oh my god. Alright, so I gave this book 3 stars, but it's hard to explain why it's a 3 because I hated the premise of this book and I should have known that. So thinking about this book, I was like, oh, that's kind of a cute idea, but I hated it because this goes back to the cheating aspect. Love that. So there's emotional and physical cheating in this, which I feel like isn't, it's sort of a spoiler, but like really not, because I feel like it's a trigger. So I'm gonna mention it, and I feel like it's obvious that the whole basis of this plot is emotional cheating. So yeah, man, I really liked the writing of this book and like a lot of it, but I just can't, I'm not okay with the cheating element, so I had to give it a 3 star. If, again, cheating doesn't bother you, then you probably really love this. I know Haley and Bookland just read this and gave it 5 stars. So like it's really a personal thing, but for me, like I couldn't get past that and I had to give it the 3. So next I read Beautiful Stranger by Christina Lauren. This is book 2 in the Beautiful Bastard series. So again, I'm not really going to talk about it too much because it makes me red and embarrassed, but this is following a completely new set of characters. So these are all companion novels, I think, but then the novellas go into like everyone, but our first couple is like friends with these people, so like we see them. I guess this one would be based on exhibitionist, is that the word? Exhibitionism? You can Google it if, I think that's what it is, so Google it if you're interested and like over 18. But yeah, I'm not gonna talk any more about it. Okay. So the next book is the Bromance Book Club by Lyssa Kay Adams, which, oh my god, I love this book so much. This is a library book, but I want this so badly. Like I want to read it right now, but it's so good. So this is following our main characters, Gavin, and he is a professional baseball star for this fictional baseball team called the Nashville Legends. But basically, oh my gosh, my feet are so asleep. Okay, so basically one day his wife spurs on him that she wants a divorce, and that basically he hadn't pleased her in bed in a very long time. / maybe ever. So he's like pissed off. He's like, how could you say that? You've been faking it this whole time. So he storms out and he leaves because she also asked him to leave. But then his buddies come over and he's like, okay, dude, we know what you gotta do. You want to get your girl back. We know. So we're gonna come grab you. And then they bring him. And they bring him to the Bromance Book Club, which is a book club of all these like politicians, athletes, like muscular like men who read romance books, and in this book they're reading a historical romance book to save their relationships and their marriages and to like learn what they're doing, not what they're doing wrong, but like what they should be prioritizing, or like how a woman wants to be treated. Obviously there's some parts of this book that are going to be a little like far-fetched. Like there's a lot of like feminist quotes this like one character says, which are obviously like no one in their right mind would say. Like just droning on, I don't have the like quotes, but Chelsea from Chelsea Darling Reads talked about this in a wrap-up of hers, so I'll link her channel down below if you want to hear her talk about it too. But yeah, this was just so cute. I loved Gavin reading this romance novel, and like you actually get excerpts from the novel. I'm trying to like find a part of it. So like this would be, you know, the normal font, but then they go into sort of like a swirly thing. they go into a different font so you know that you're reading the historical romance, but it's so cute. And I actually like found historical romance this year, like in the last half of this year, and I've loved it so much. So it was really awesome to like see them reading this like historical romance. Like it kind of made me want to read the historical romance even though it doesn't exist. So Lisa K. Adams, come out with the whole book of this, please. But yeah, there's just the dynamic, I don't know, there was just something about this book. I read this thing in like a matter of hours. Like I ate it up. I loved it. So yeah, 5 stars. Obviously book 2 is coming out in March or sometime really soon, which is surprising because this just came out. But I loved it, and there's arcs for it, and I'm a literal no one, but I would literally do anything for an arc of that. Not that that would ever happen in my entire life, but I'm just saying, if you get an arc of this, I'm so jealous. But yeah, love this so much. Go read it. It's amazing. So those were the 18 books that I read in November. I hope you guys enjoyed, and tell me what you guys read last month and like your favorite book of November. Okay, I'll see you guys in a new video soon. Bye!